Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining. As you log in, if you will please put your name and organization in the chat, we will begin in just a few minutes. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining us. As you come in, if you will make sure that you have your name and organization in the chat, we will begin here in about one more minute. We're going to let everybody kind of come in and get settled for the afternoon. All right, everyone. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you all so much for joining us this afternoon. We really appreciate your time and your efforts and everything that y'all have been doing for our community. Today, we are so happy that we have a great meeting for us and a great presentation. So I would like to introduce our Boys and Girls Club of FAR San Juan with Rocio Mata, who's the CEO over there, and Elizabeth Rivera. They will be talking with us today about reaching the hard to reach, proven strategies to get your message across to those most in need. So welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. And I will turn it over to our Boys and Girls Club.
Thank you so much, Raina. I don't want to, well, I should correct it. I'm not the CEO because my CEO might be on the chat, so I'm not coming for his job quite yet.
My fault, sorry.
It's okay. Thank you so much for meeting with us today. Of course, today we're going to cover reaching the hard to reach, and they are proven strategies to get your message across to the most in need. So I know that many of the agencies that are today online are, they do some kind of outreach. So most of it is health outreach. And we're going to talk to you a little bit about our proven strategies and some way that we do it. We consider ourselves very effective in what we do. So thank you for having us. Okay, so who are we? We are the Boys and Girls Club of FAR San Juan. We've been in operation for 50 years. Actually, last year, that was our 50th birthday. We've been here since 1971. We currently have 4 after-school sites. So we serve the community of FAR, Las Milpas, which is, also in FAR, but in Southern FAR, San Juan, and we recently just opened our Valley View sites. We approximately serve 7,000 youth each year. And one important thing to note is that we have a mental health component, and that's how we fit into this health realm. That's why we are, basically on the call with you, and this is how we have some of the shared services that we also provide. We have been recognized for family support programs throughout Boys and Girls Clubs nationwide. So when they have questions about outreach, they do come to us, and we are a past recipient of the Annie E. Casey Award for Family Strengthening. So, okay. So I want you to ask yourself, what is something that if you could just communicate effectively would really have an impact on the clients you serve? So now this could be knowledge, a study, an available service. What do you have? Why is outreach so important? What do you have that you want to give people that you think could really, really impact the clients you serve. So if anyone wants to give us some input, go ahead and put it in the chat. Anything. Okay, so I will give you my holy grail. This is my information that if I can just get this information across, and we all have different information, right? So this one's mine. Mine is a study that I heard when I was at a training, and it basically said of youth who adhere to these 3 rules. So youth that follow these 3 rules as they enter adulthood have only a 2% chance of living in poverty and nearly 75% of joining the middle class. So I know that's a lot. So let's process this. Of youth who adhere to these 3 rules as they enter adulthood, they only have a 2% chance of living in poverty, which kind of prompts me to want to share this with everyone. So what are these 3 rules? They have to at least finish high school. They have to get a full-time job and wait until age 21 to get married and have children. Why do I bring this up? Because when I first heard this, it prompted me to want to tell all families and all kids, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. So in the same way, there could be some kind of information that you might have, I don't know, about diabetes, or you might have a tidbit of information that is on a different topic, maybe parenting classes that you know are just research-based and effective, just different pieces of information or a study, knowledge, something that you want to get across. And I wanted to start here because I wanted you to truly understand the value of what it is that you give. We are all passionate about what it is that we offer. We're all passionate about our services. We basically say, if they would just incorporate this, if our audience would just incorporate this, then the outcomes could be different, right? So similarly, if youth will just understand this information here, then they're 98% not going to be living in poverty. So that's just my holy grail for my field, but I'm sure we all have similar items, that information that we want to share. Okay, so in starting with this, the question is, how do we communicate this information? How do you communicate this information regularly? This could be knowledge. Again, how do you communicate that effectively? So traditionally, we do different events, workshops, conferences, because we want to communicate, whether it be a service that we have, a new finding, even a new grant that just has been passed down to us, from the federal government. How do we communicate this? So these are some of the traditional efforts that we use. So here, for example, if someone is doing community sessions, they're offering free community workshops, and they're tips for your teens about relationships and social media. I'm sure we can all agree that social media is an issue that's facing teens right now, or young people, and it's important for us to communicate this. So this is an example of a flyer, and I'm not talking badly about the flyers. I'm just showing you traditional ways that people communicate this. So here we have growing parenting skills. Parents of school-aged children, and it's parenting skills, and we know that if parents get this information about family rules and routines, about discipline, we know that the impact that could have could be great. And here, this other one is about healthy living series for women's health. Again, there's so much information out there. There's so much research. There's so many good things that we want to share with people, and we want to get this information across. So I'm sure you all have also your own flyers and your own events and your great activities, and I'm sure it's amazing. But the question again is outreach. How do we get this in the hands of the people who need it most? Because yes, I'm probably going to go on right here, for example, the growing your parenting skills. It says to register on SurveyMonkey. So I'm very capable of going in there and registering on SurveyMonkey. The question is, the audience that the audience that needs it most, do they know what SurveyMonkey is? Are they able to do that? That's just a question that you guys need to ask. So in outreach, are you throwing things out and hoping it's going to work? Or are you intentional? So what if I told you there's another way, right? It's basically outreach, but with a plan. So outreach, as with every other aspect of your practice, should be research-based. I know outreach is a big word, especially in grant writing. So that's the majority of my job. I do grant writing. So outreach is a big part of everything. You know, we get the money and we're supposed to give it to the most vulnerable. Even those make your applications more competitive if you're able to get it to the right audience. So of course, with everything, even outreach, it's important for us to incorporate research into those efforts, but of course be practical. So my question is, what framework do you reference in planning outreach? There's a lot of guidance out there. So there's no need for us to recreate the wheel. You just go in, Google outreach. There's a lot of stuff out there. So our job is to apply what we know, not what we think. We spend so much time, as the flyers that I showed you, making sure all the flyers are in there, making sure the graphics are correct, making sure the color schemes are right. But are we applying what we know as opposed to what we think? Like, is there a study that's showing bright colors are gonna reach the most underserved? Is there a study saying if we use SurveyMonkey or electronic means of registration, it's more valuable for whatever reason? This is where we are right now. We need to really step up the game. And if we expect good results, we have to put in the effort. I'm reading a book by Thomas Insel. I recommend it. There's a plug. He is amazing. And the book is called Healing: A Path from Mental Illness to Mental Health. I actually have it right here, right there. And he says that the gap between what we know and what we do is unacceptable. The gap between what we know and what we do is unacceptable. We are doing outreach, but we know more that we should be incorporating that. We should incorporate our knowledge into outreach because that gap is not acceptable. Science informs your practice. We must assure that what we know is what we do. So all I'm saying is when you do outreach, you don't do it blankly. You do with the plan. So what does this mean? Okay. So for us, for Boys and Girls Club, I'm just going to introduce a couple of ways that we do this. How do we use science? How do we use research to inform our outreach? The first one is, I'm sure you may have heard of before, is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It suggests that higher needs, self-fulfillment, can't fully emerge until basic needs have been at least partially satisfied. So of course, we've heard of this, and if you know this, the bottom tier is really the most immediate need, and then it goes higher and higher. Physiological needs are at the bottom of the hierarchy, and the need for self-actualization is at the top. So the question I have for you that you need to ask yourself is, at what level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs is your information or your service or your event? Are you trying to teach parenting skills? Where would that fit? Would it fit in physiological needs? Would it fit in safety needs? Maybe for the child, but not for the parent, the audience. So let's say you're trying to teach parenting skills or let's do nutrition, because I forget most of you guys are medical. Let's do nutrition classes for people with diabetes. Is that a physiological need? Is it a safety need? Is it belonging? Is it esteem? Or is it self-actualization? You know, where does that service fit? Right? So that's what you got to ask yourself. And if that service, which I would argue most of our stuff, most of our products fall into esteem needs or self-actualization, really self-actualization, we want them to take ownership of their own health and their own well-being, then look at all the different levels that fall before that. So before they're going to say, oh, this is a need flyer, let me attend this parenting class, they're not going to be thinking that. They're going to be thinking about their physiological needs and their safety needs. For example, if it's an individual who may not have food at home, and that a mom, let's say, and she knows she needs to work on the diabetes aspect of things, but her physiological needs are not met because she's thinking about what she's going to make for dinner. Or if she's in a domestic violence situation, you know, is she going to try to go to that parenting class or that health event if she's thinking about whether she's going to get, you know, she's going to get hit that evening, or even the belonging and the love needs. So what I'm saying is, when you are planning your outreach events, you have to incorporate these things. You have to offer these things because you're self-fulfilling, you can't fully emerge until your basic needs have been at least partially. So partially, you obviously can't give someone permanent safety. You can't give someone physiological needs. I mean, you can, but that's not the goal. But partially, are you addressing some of these things? So in order to do this, you must consider your audience and what needs to come before your product. So those most at risk, and again, this is a fast presentation, but if I had you in person, I would ask, what are some of their needs? Well, who are the most hard to reach? That's really, who's the most hard to reach? Well, then the harder they are to reach and the most at risk, I would argue that they probably have bigger needs or more needs than those that are already close to self-actualization. So how can you meet some of those needs as part of your outreach efforts? That's really the question. How could some of those needs be met? So that's just one example of one area of research that we use. Another one that you hear a lot, especially in your field, is social determinants of health. So, of course, for those that don't know, social determinants of health are the conditions in people's environments, such as where they are born, live, learn, work, play, worship, and age, all of which affect a wide range of health functioning and quality of life, risks, and outcomes. So there's a lot of information about social determinants of health. And my proposal is that you reference the social determinants of health in your outreach efforts. So what does that look like? Your social determinants are education and access to quality and access and quality. We know that people who have that as a barrier may not have a better quality of life. So are you considering the literacy levels? The example I gave earlier was about how is someone able to register on SurveyMonkey? So is that person computer literate? Does that person even speak the language? Some of the flyers that I showed were very complex. And if you go to this parenting class, you're going to learn, these principles and all this good stuff. But what does that mean to your audience? Are they really understanding what that even means? Another one is healthcare access and quality. Yes, you can tell people that if you go to regular, doctor's appointments, you'll have better health, but are you considering the access? A big one is economic stability. If you're thinking about money or money is an issue, what does that mean? Social and community context is a big one, just if you're bringing them into your setting, are you making sure that the people around are treating them in a way that makes them feel connected? Are there other people that look like them around? And then the one that I really always think about, and I think this is what Boys and Girls Clubs do best, and this is why we're successful, is your neighborhood and built environment. Where are you teaching your classes? Where are you holding these events? Are you considering, is it a place that's already conducive to these type of things, or is it a place where, are you bringing them into a clinical setting? Are you bringing them into, a university, which is fine, but is that really the best place for you to provide these outreach services? So social determinants of health is another way that we look at this. Outreach programs are poised to address social determinants of health for underserved populations because they're trusted within the community and understand the socioeconomic and cultural context in which people are living. So again, we're poised to address not only that, not only should we consider them, but on the other hand, we can address them. Outreach programs not only facilitate access to services, but can also play an important role in improving the social determinants of health for underserved populations. So we not only facilitate access to services, but we also play an important role in improving So this is bigger. You're able to address different issues beyond your product. So we, of course, at the end of the day, your product, your objective, your goal needs to be addressed, but how can you also, bring everything else up, which really is the capacity of your families, the capacity of your audience, the capacity of those people to be able to process these things. And that's something that we've learned, and Liz will go into this in a little bit, is how can you allow for that? So now imagine a patient or client or participant, so you need to, in considering social determinants of health, think of the things in this person's life that contribute to their health. Imagine the place where they live, the food they eat, the relationship with family, her relationship to the community around her. Is it healthy and supportive? Think about the type of work they do. If they don't work, why is that? Is it because they choose not to? Based only on what she looks like. What do you think other people, what do you others think about this person? And that's important. You know, basically if someone comes in there and maybe they're dirty or missing teeth or scraggly hair or really just are not presentable, you know, what do people treat them? How does that impact their day-to-day experience? Thinking about this before you plan your next outreach event, which are basically the social determinants of health, can really help. So to go back to what Mr. Thomas Insel said is to look at the individual. So how do we do this? How do we do this? So this is an example of some of the events that the Boys and Girls Club of Far San Juan has held. Now keep in mind the distinct differences. Normally, the topics covered are the events held. So a COVID fair, COVID vaccine workshop, a parenting workshop, parent-child advocacy seminar, healthy eating fair, fitness, I don't know, workshop or conference, mental health, you know, that's how it's phrased or it's spoken of. The difference is the way we do it is we market the event as the type of events that you see here. So in other words, we do 5Ks, we call them caminatas. You know, we're looking at the cultural component of it. Art festivals, Zumbathon, Family Week, family versus family challenges, loteria, cooking demonstration, art festivals, craft nights, game nights, movie nights. All these types of events are a lot more appealing to the audience that we work with. And it's something that you would want to go to, because if you are struggling with, you know, income issues or safety issues, well, you can still go do a loteria night. That doesn't take much from you. So the difference is during these events, we infuse the topics that we need to address. Our outcomes are what we need to address. Our product are the topics covered, but we will not call it a heart health awareness event. We will call it, you know, maybe a caminata, where it's something more exciting. And then some of our unique outreach strategies are based on the hierarchy of needs. And it's also based, going back to the social determinants of health. So what we do is we'll provide dinner. So now if you have a busy mom who is has food insecurity maybe, and doesn't know what she's going to cook the kids when she gets home, now she's like, well, I can attend this art festival and dinner is going to be served. So you eliminated that insecurity for that evening. We do supplemental groceries a lot. So now someone might say, okay, I don't really want to go to a healthy eating nutrition class, but if I go to the nutrition class, I'm going to get a bag of groceries. Guess what? If you need it, I'm going to basically listen to anything for that bag of groceries. So again, we're addressing that aspect of it. We do door prizes and raffles. We also do one-on-one phone call invitations. So once we have them, we call them and say, hey, how's it going? You know, and we make that interaction, because now we're addressing the social context of it. Now we're creating a bond and a relationship that we can do. We do childcare. I mean, I have a 3-year-old. So if you're going to have childcare, I'm there just to get a little break from him, you know, and it's realistic. If someone's struggling with mental health and they have, you know, children, and they're going to get someone to babysit them and watch them for at least an hour, I'm completely there. We do craft kits, so you get something free. It's really neat stuff. We do recipe kits. So if you come to the nutrition or this cooking demonstration, we're going to give you the groceries you need to make it at home. And then we do, it's an open agenda is another one. So sometimes we are so stuck on, this is the agenda, this is what we're going to do for the first 20 minutes, this is what we're going to do for the next 30 minutes, and then we're going to end like this. We like to do open agenda that we can come, maybe visit around, interact, and you can leave if you want to. And if you come later, then that's fine too. So those are just some of the unique outreach strategies that we use. So now I'm going to turn it over to Elizabeth, and Elizabeth's going to give you examples. So we talked about the theory, then we kind of tied it back into the practice, but she's going to give you actual events that we've had and how that's worked. So Liz, whenever you're ready.
Okay, you. So these are samples of our flyers, and we recently had a what we called Sweetheart Zumba. And of course, we were going to tie it up with our heart health awareness, but we weren't going to call it that. So we called it a Sweetheart Zumba, and we did it in February, which is Valentine's Day. And this other one was for Las Milpas. We do it in Spanish. This other one, the first one was for main unit, which is speaking people, English speaking people. And over here it's Spanish. Well, we have a Spanish one. And it's also the same thing, but different, different displays. And we provided dinner, and we put it here, serving dinner for all parents. We also had a breakfast for dad, where we always celebrate Mother's Day and Father's Day. We kind of leave it behind, but we made it a special breakfast for dad for Father's Day, and they got to enjoy their breakfast. You're gonna see some pictures coming up where the events. We had a very good turnout. This is 16 de septiembre, Independence, and we had tacos, like we're used to here this area, eat tacos, be with our dress up as 16 de septiembre. So we had a little contest too. This is Apoyo Entre Familia. And of course, we gave free food for everybody who attended. We raffled off a bike. So that motivated parents to go and attend this Apoyo Entre Familia. We had a National Family Week, and we had events in every of our units. We're gonna do different events. And this was our Thanksgiving celebration. They had a meal as well. This was a craft night, and everybody who came in was gonna go and have a welcome sign to take home. So everybody was gonna create their own, and the children, everybody was involved. This is our nutrition class. And of course, like Ms. Rocio was saying, we give all the participants a grocery bag, and we raffle off sanitizing, because they were kind of gone in the store. So we made a raffle with this, but we did give them the grocery bags, and the parents were very excited. I even had one parent say, with the food that you're giving us with this bag, I've made it through all week. So I was like, oh my God, like, that's awesome. This is some of the pictures of our family events. This is our breakfast with dad event, and we had a very good turnout. We had a lot of parents that came in and had breakfast with their kid before going to work. So they came, had breakfast, and the kids really, really enjoyed it. This is our Noche Mexicana, and this is where we had the taquitos. And we had a parent volunteer, and he volunteered. He made the tacos for everybody. And you're gonna see, we had our mental health person give out information to our parents while they were eating their tacos and enjoying that day. They were getting prizes, and of course, they got information of mental health. This is our heart health awareness, and this is the dinner that we served: a salad, grilled chicken with 2 tortillas, and that was their meal. And we had a very good turnout. A lot of people attended. We also did. They were taking BMIs, so the parents really, really enjoyed it. We did the caminata, and of course, with the parents, with the kids, they all went walking, and they loved it. This is the sign that I was talking about, and this is the welcome sign, and it was for Easter. So the kids participate, the parent participate, they all get involved. Some of the parents don't want the kids to participate, but they still do. And they loved it. Everybody went home with their own sign, and we had a very good turnout for that event. This is some of our other projects that we do. This is our gardening. Kids really, really enjoy gardening. We have a garden. We are trying to build gardens in San Juan. We had a fall fest, and this was the food that they served, and it's all healthy food, but kind of made it a little Mexicanos. We had the trechas and because we service the aguas frescas. We had a very good turnout. People were driving. It was like a come by, do what you're gonna do, and we had painting, and they were painting, having a good time. This is a parent. That's what they were painting. The little girl, he obviously is coming from work, so he stopped, did his picture, was with his child, and they enjoyed it.
Elizabeth, we do have a question. Do
Yes.
all of these events cost a lot of money to put together?
No, not really. No, we just purchase our food, which is, you go to HEB, you buy a bag of what, 30, 40 corns, and that's all. You just buy atrechas, and that's it. You make a Mexican corn. Yeah,
It's
no,
very
it's
like,
not
even
expensive.
sometimes it just takes about being proactive, because I heard Elizabeth saying, maybe we can't have fruit because fruit's expensive, right?
Yeah, that's
But
what I was gonna say.
at the pulga they have fruit. So here we go, before we come into work, and we go
We go and
purchase,
purchase
watermelons or whatever it is that we need. People are very good about donating things. So even when when people found out we were doing gardens, we had a lot of, I think we had Home Depot, and we had another, I'm not sure who it was, but somebody else, they donated plenty of things. So a lot of this stuff, we still have to practice within the government guidelines, and anyone who's a government grantee knows that they don't like to purchase food. So we need to figure out how to get that stuff. So no, it's definitely not as expensive as it seems. So I'm still stuck on Dr. Thomas Insel, but he was talking in his book about one time that he got fired from a job early on when he was doing a study for mice, I think it was. And at the end, when he got fired, he said, it wasn't what I did. He said, smiling, it was what I didn't do. Focus directly on humans. So if I can sum up this whole outreach presentation, we need to focus directly on human beings, on people who have issues like ours. We all have them, right? We all have problems. Focus on those problems and bring that love component within that frame of government funding and our perimeters. The key to reaching the hard to reach and underserved is creating projects that build on their strengths and engage community members in their own sustainable problem solving. So thank you so much for having us. We are very passionate. Liz is a master in this. She's been with us for 14 years, so she's really the expert. So if anybody ever wants to get some input, I'm sure she's be more than willing to help with the events, from the flyer making to the actual events, to the way we recruit. Everything is unique. We want to share it with everyone, because if you look at the pictures, look at the attendance that we're getting, and we're doing a craft night, but we're talking about mental health, or we're talking about internet safety. We're still meeting the objective and the goals, but we have a packed house, and we have the most underserved and underrepresented populations. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you both so much. Everyone, we would like to give about 2 minutes for questions. I know it's our lunch break, and we're all trying to get everything going, but we would like to say thank you to both Rocio and Elizabeth so much for joining us today, and thank you all for joining us today online. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A. Otherwise, we will head out here in just about 2 minutes. So we'll give everybody a little time just to answer those questions. All right. Well, I think we are finished for today. Again, everyone, thank you so much. Actually, we do have a great question here. We've got a question from Dalia Tovar over at Su Clinica, and her question is, what has been your greatest challenge?
Liz, do you want to speak on that?
Yes, well, actually, because I love what I do. So like my greatest challenge is the weather. Yesterday we had a great event and we had a little mini health fair, and the weather suddenly changed, made it we still did have a good turnout. We took great pictures. We had people getting their BMIs, doing their blood pressure, a lot of information that they got. But yeah, sometimes it's the weather and you know.
And from an administrative perspective, I will say one of our biggest challenges is having your staff have the buy-in. So sometimes we place that issue on the audience and we're saying, okay, well, they don't want to come to our event. But the staff, having them roll up their sleeves and work and doing these non-traditional methods of outreach. Maybe they're not used to chopping up fruit, and they're like, well, I have a master's, I'm not chopping up nothing. And it's like, yeah, well, chop up the fruit, if that's what it means to, that's what, again, if you focus on the individual.
Yeah.
So administratively, but once we get the buy-in from the staff, once they see, I mean, like I tell Liz, that last picture of that gentleman full of paint with his daughter, even talking about it brings me to tears, because what opportunity are they going to have for that interaction outside of what it is that we provided? Like, I can't imagine they're going to paint together anywhere else, So, so again, having the staff have the buy-in has been one of our biggest challenges.
Going to the pulga, buying fruit.
Right, exactly.
That is great information, great feedback for everyone too. One of the other questions that we did have was, do you have any repeat attendees to all your different events?
Yes, we do sometimes, but usually when they come, they bring somebody new. So we have more attendees.
Right.
So that's
yes and yes.
That's a plus. Like if they come back, yes, but they bring somebody new, and that's very helpful for us.
Right. And I know that even around the office, everyone's like, oh, tonight's the caminata, right? And we're like, Polo, what are you going to serve? Or Polo, what's, who's going to be there? Or they're going to get booster shots. And even us as a staff are all aware and looking forward to it, because it is really exciting. And anything we do should be exciting.
Absolutely. Well, ladies, we are a little bit out of time. So I want to thank you both so much for joining us today, and everyone online too. We appreciate all of the great work y'all are doing. We thank you so much for joining us. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We will be putting this on our website soon, so we will have a link for it as well for those who didn't get to join us. So again, thank you so much and have a great afternoon, everyone.